I want to start today with a bit of a mystery. It's a sports story, but really, it's a story about how we get good at things. We're talking about British cycling.
Right.
And to really understand this, you have to know that for about 100 years, they weren't just bad, they were spectacularly mediocre.
I'd say it's even worse than mediocre. I mean, the baseline they were starting from is just staggering.
Mm.
From 1908 all the way to 2003, British riders won a single gold medal at the Olympics.
One in 100 years.
One. You'd think, statistically, they'd just stumble into a few more by accident.
Yeah, you really would.
And in the Tour de France, which is, the absolute pinnacle of the sport, no British cyclist had ever won in 110 years.
Uh-huh.
It got so bad that one of the top bike manufacturers in Europe actually refused to sell bikes to the team.
Wait, hold on. A bike company wouldn't take their money.
They were genuinely afraid that if people saw British pros riding their bikes, it would hurt sales. They thought it would make their brand look slow.
That is rock bottom. I mean, imagine being so bad a company pays you not to use their product.
Exactly. But obviously something changed because today they're a powerhouse.
So what happened? Did they suddenly find a bunch of money, discover some genetic super athletes?
Nothing like that.
Yeah.
They hired a guy named Dave Brailsford. And what's so interesting is he didn't come in promising some massive revolution. He had this strategy he called the aggregation of marginal gains.
Aggregation of marginal gains. That sounds a little bit like corporate speak, to be honest.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But the philosophy behind it was incredibly simple. Brailsford believed you don't need 100% improvement in one thing, you just need a 1% improvement in everything.
Okay, so like better seats, lighter tires, the usual stuff.
Well, yeah, they did that. They redesigned the seats to be more comfortable. They rubbed alcohol on the tires for better grip. But then Brailsford started looking in places nobody else was even thinking about.
Like where?
Okay, so for example, they hired a surgeon to teach the riders the proper way to wash their hands.
You're kidding! To wash their hands.
Yep. To avoid getting colds. Because if you don't get sick, you don't miss training days. They tested different massage gels to find which one led to faster muscle recovery.
Okay, that's getting pretty detailed.
They even figured out the perfect pillow and mattress for each rider's sleep quality, and then they would haul that bedding to hotels with them wherever they raced.
That's intense. But is a better pillow really going to win you the Tour de France?
It's the accumulation. My favorite detail, though, has to be the truck. The big maintenance truck where they kept the bikes. Brailsford had the entire inside of it painted stark white.
Why? For the aesthetic?
No, it was completely functional. He wanted it white so they could spot tiny specks of dust.
Dust? You can't be serious.
Totally serious. Because a little bit of dust could get into the finely tuned gears and degrade performance. It was a level of detail that was, almost obsessive.
But it worked.
Oh, it worked. 5 years after Brailsford took over, the British cycling team went to the Beijing Olympics and won 60% of the available gold medals.
60%? That's
Yeah.
an insane turnaround.
And 4 years later in London, they set 9 Olympic records. Then Bradley Wiggins wins the Tour de France. Chris Froome wins it. They went from a total laughingstock to the most dominant force in modern cycling.
Okay, so this brings us to the real topic of this deep dive. We aren't just here to talk about bikes. We're unpacking Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I'm guessing the idea is we should all be painting our floors white.
In a metaphorical sense, yeah. The whole thesis is that massive success doesn't require massive action. We think we need this one big dramatic moment. But Clear argues it's about these atomic habits, tiny changes that compound into remarkable results.
I get the concept, but does the math on that really work? Because a 1% improvement feels like absolutely nothing in the moment.
It feels like nothing, you're right. But the math is, it's undeniable. If you get 1% better each day for a year, you end up 37 times better by the end of it.
37 times? That seems shockingly high.
It's the power of compounding. But here's the scary part. It also works in reverse. If you get 1% worse each day for a year, you decline pretty much down to zero. Your habits are basically the compound interest of self-improvement.
Okay, the math is compelling. But here's the real-world problem. You decide to get in shape, you go to the gym 3 days in a row, you feel like you're dying on the treadmill, and you look in the mirror and you look exactly the same.
Right.
Or you study Mandarin for an hour and you still can't have a conversation. The results are invisible, and that's the point where I usually just quit.
That's what everyone feels. Clear calls this the valley of disappointment. We expect our progress to be linear. You put in work, you get results. But that's not how compounding works. The results are delayed.
So the work is just vanishing.
No, it's being stored.
Yeah.
He uses this great analogy about an ice cube. Imagine an ice cube in a room that's 25 degrees. You start slowly heating the room. 26 degrees. 27.
And nothing's happening. The ice is just sitting there.
Exactly. You're putting in the work, you're adding energy, but there is zero visible evidence. 29, 30. 31 degrees. Still a block of ice. And you feel like a failure. But then you hit 32 degrees, and it starts to melt.
Right.
So the question is, was it that 1 degree shift from 31 to 32 that did all the work?
No, of course not. It was all the heat that came before it.
Precisely. The work wasn't wasted, it was just stored. That's what he calls the plateau of latent potential. The breakthrough moment is just the result of all the previous actions that seem to have no effect.
I really like that phrase, stored work. It reframes the frustration. But I have to ask, did Clear live this himself, or is he just a researcher?
Oh, he lived it in a really brutal way. When he was in high school, he got hit in the face with a baseball bat during a game.
Ouch. Like a broken nose.
So much worse. It shattered both his eye sockets, broke his nose, caused brain swelling. They had to put him in a medically induced coma. When he woke up, he had to relearn how to walk in a straight line.
Wow. So I'm guessing his baseball career was over?
Well, he got cut from the college team. But he didn't try to fix his life all at once. He focused on these tiny habits.
Like what?
Just making his bed every day, keeping his room tidy, going to the gym and lifting weights. Not heavy, just consistently. Just focusing on getting 1% better.
And it worked.
By the time he graduated, he was named an academic All-American. He rebuilt his life through this gradual atomic evolution.
See, that leads to something I found really counterintuitive in the book. We are always told to set big goals, but Clear seems to think goals are overrated.
He argues we focus way too much on goals and not nearly enough on systems. And think about it this way. Winners and losers have the exact same goals.
What do you mean by that?
Well, every athlete at the Olympics wants to win the gold medal. Every person applying for a job wants to get the job.
True. Nobody sets a goal to come in fourth place.
Exactly. So if both the winners and the losers have the same goal, the goal itself can't be the thing that separates them. The system is what makes the difference.
But a goal gives you direction, right?
It gives you direction, but it's a trap for happiness. It creates this either-or conflict where you tell yourself, once I reach my goal, then I'll be happy.
I am so guilty of that. I'll be happy when I lose 10 pounds, and until then, you're just in a state of failure.
And even if you do hit the goal, the satisfaction is fleeting. He calls it the yo-yo effect. Your goal is to clean your messy room. You do it. Great. But if you don't change the sloppy system that made it messy, it's just going to be messy again in a week.
You treated the symptom, not the cause.
Exactly. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your system.
You fall to the level of your systems. That's a powerful line. Okay, let's go a layer deeper. The book talks about identity.
This is probably the most important part. You can think of change in 3 layers, like an onion. The outer layer is outcomes, what you get. The middle is processes, what you do. But the core, the deepest layer, is identity, what you believe about yourself.
And most of us start from the outside in, right? I want to lose weight is an outcome.
Correct. But the most powerful change happens from the inside out. Let me give you an example from the book. 2 people are trying to quit smoking. Someone offers them a cigarette.
Okay.
The first person says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit."
Seems a perfectly fine answer.
It is, but what's the underlying identity? "I'm trying to quit" implies you're still a smoker who is currently resisting. You're fighting your own identity.
I see. It's a struggle. You're depriving yourself.
Now imagine the second person says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker."
Oh, that's a totally different energy.
It's a huge shift. It's not a temporary struggle. It's a statement of fact. This is no longer who I am. And we have a deep internal pressure to act consistently with our own identity.
But how do you just flip that switch? I can't just wake up and decide I'm an astronaut and have it be true.
You can't. You need evidence. And this is the core idea. Every action you take is like a vote for the type of person you want to become.
A vote. I like that.
You go for a run, even a short one. That's a vote for being a runner. You write 1 page. A vote for being a writer. And the beautiful thing is, you don't need a unanimous vote to win an election.
You just need a majority.
You just need a majority. You can miss a day. You can screw up. That's just 1 vote for the other side.
Yeah.
As long as you keep casting more votes for your new identity, You will win over time.
That is so freeing. Because usually if I mess up my diet on a Tuesday, I figure the whole week is a wash.
That's the all-or-nothing trap. This framework kills that. Just cast a better vote tomorrow.
Okay, let's get into the mechanics. How does a habit actually form? I know there's a story about cats in puzzle boxes.
Yeah, this is classic psychology from the 1890s. A guy named Thorndike put cats in these boxes. To get out and get food, the cat had to hit a little lever. At first, the cats just went wild, clawing and sniffing randomly.
Just chaos.
Pure chaos, until by accident they'd hit the lever. The door would open, they'd get the food. And what he found was, after a few dozen trials, the cats stopped the random chaos. They went straight for the lever.
They learned the shortcut to the reward.
That's the definition of a habit. It's an automatic solution your brain creates to solve a recurring problem with the least possible energy. And Clear breaks this down into a 4-step loop: cue, craving, response, and reward.
And that loop leads to his 4 laws of behavior change. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying.
And for bad habits, you just invert them. Make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying.
Let's talk about the first one, make it obvious. Because so many of my bad habits are on autopilot. I'm scrolling on my phone before I even consciously decided to pick it up.
That's what he calls the cognitive slumber. There's this amazing story about a paramedic that shows how powerful these subconscious cues are.
Is this the one about the family dinner?
Yes. She's at a family gathering, looks across the table at her father-in-law, and immediately says, "You need to go to the hospital now."
And he felt fine.
Totally fine. He thought she was overreacting. But she insisted. They rushed him to the ER, and it turns out he had a major artery that was almost completely blocked. He was minutes from a massive heart attack.
How did she know?
She couldn't even explain it herself at first. But her brain, after seeing thousands of heart attack patients, had subconsciously learned to recognize the subtle changes in blood distribution in a person's face. The cue was there, and her brain screamed, "Danger," before her conscious mind could even analyze it.
Wow. So our brains do that with bad habits too. We see the cue, the cookie jar, the TV remote, and the habit just fires.
Exactly. So to change it, you have to make it conscious. That's why the Japanese railway system uses a method called pointing and calling.
This is the one that sounds so silly to actually do.
It looks silly. The train conductor will literally point at a signal and shout out, "Signal is green." They point at the speedometer and announce the speed. But by verbalizing it, they move the action from the non-conscious to the conscious brain. It reduces errors by up to 85%.
85% is huge. So the idea is I should point at a bag of chips and say, I am about to eat these chips.
Basically, yes. It's called a habit scorecard. You just bring awareness to the action. You might still eat the chips, but it's no longer a mindless act. You've forced a choice.
Okay, so once a habit is obvious, how do we install a good one? I feel like the common advice is just get motivated.
And all the research shows that motivation is, frankly, garbage.
Yeah.
It's fleeting. What works is planning and environment. There was a study in Great Britain on exercise. They had 3 groups: the control group, a motivation group, who read inspirational material.
Did that work?
Almost no effect. About 35% of them exercised. But the third group, they were simply asked to make a concrete plan, to write down when and where they would exercise.
Like, I will go for a run on Tuesday at 5 p.m. in the park.
Just that. That group had a 91% success rate.
91%, that's more than double.
It's called an implementation intention. The formula is, I will behavior at time and location. Most of us think we lack motivation, but what we really lack is clarity.
And there's a way to supercharge this, right? Habit stacking. But first, you have to tell the story of the French philosopher and the robe.
Ah, Denis Diderot. The Diderot effect. So Diderot was broke his whole life, then suddenly came into a lot of money. He bought himself a beautiful new scarlet robe.
Nice. Good for him.
But then he put on the robe and looked around his study, and suddenly his old rug looked shabby in comparison.
Oh, no. I see where this is going.
So he bought a new rug, and then his chair didn't match the new rug, so he bought a new chair. It set off this spiral of consumption. One purchase became the cue for the next.
That happens every time I buy one new thing for a room. Suddenly everything else looks old.
We can use that same effect for good. That's habit stacking. You anchor a new habit, you want to start onto an existing habit you already do.
So you use the momentum of the old habit.
Exactly. The formula is, after current habit, I will new habit.
Give me an example.
After I pour my morning cup of coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. Or after I take off my work shoes, I will immediately change into my gym clothes.
That seems so much easier than just trying to remember to meditate at some random time.
Because pouring coffee is already a deeply grooved neural pathway. You're just building a tiny on-ramp from an existing superhighway.
So we've only really covered the first law in detail, but just to round it out, we've also got make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying.
Right. Attractive is about pairing something you want to do with something you need to do. Like you only get to watch your favorite show while you're on the exercise bike. And satisfying is about giving yourself an immediate reward, even if it's just putting a big X on a calendar. That visual progress feels good.
It closes the feedback loop.
It does. It really is a full framework. But if I could leave everyone with one final thought, it would be to go back to that idea of identity.
Go for it.
We tend to think of habits as just life hacks, ways to be more productive or lose weight. But there's so much more profound than that. Your habits are the channel through which you embody a particular identity.
You literally become your habits.
You do every time you write a page. You're not just writing. You are embodying the identity of a writer. Every time you choose not to complain, you are becoming a more positive person. You're casting votes for who you want to be. The ultimate question isn't, what do I want to achieve? It's, who do I wish to become?
I love that. The real prize isn't the goal itself, it's the person you become in pursuit of it.
That's the real victory.
So to everyone listening,
Yeah.
go cast a vote for your new identity today, even a small one. Thanks for listening to this deep dive into Atomic Habits.